Chapter 2. Joachim and Anne make a vow to the Lord. August 22nd, 1944. I see the inside of a house. In it there is an elderly woman sitting at a loom. I would guess, noting from her hair, which formerly was certainly jet black, but now is quite gray, and her face, though not wrinkled, although it has the gravity that comes with age, that she must be around 55 years old, no more. In estimating a woman's age, I base my calculations upon my own mother's face, whose image is more than ever present to me in these times, which remind me of her final days at my bedside. The day after tomorrow, it will be a year since I had my last look at her. My mother had a very youthful face, but her hair was prematurely gray. When she was 50, she was already as gray as she remained until the end of her life. But apart from the maturity of her appearance, nothing betrayed her age. Because of this, I could be mistaken in estimating the age of an elderly woman. This woman I see weaving in a room bright with the light coming in from a door that is opened widely onto a large garden. A small holding, I would call it, because it smoothly extends up and down a green slope. This woman is beautiful in her definite Jewish features. Her eyes are black and deep, and while I do not know why, they remind me of the Baptists. But although they are proud as the eyes of a queen, they are also sweet, as if a veil of blue had been laid on the piercing gaze of an eagle. Yes, these eyes are sweet, and somewhat sad, as of a person who thinks of and regrets lost things. Her skin is tanned, but not excessively so. Her mouth, slightly large, is well formed and is motionless in an austere setting, which, however, is not a hard one. Her nose is long and thin, slightly drooping, an aquiline nose, which suits her eyes. She is well built, but not fat, well proportioned, and I think tall, judging her in a sitting position. I think she is weaving a curtain or a carpet. The many-colored shuttles move quickly on the brown-colored weft, and what has already been woven shows a pretty plaited work of Greek frets and rosettes, in which green, yellow, red, and deep blue interweave and blend as in a mosaic. The woman is wearing a very plain dark dress, a reddish-violet color, the hue of a special species of pansy. She stands up when she hears someone knocking at the door. She really is tall. She opens the door. A woman asks her, "Anne, will you give me your amphora? I will fill it for you." This woman has a lovely 5-year-old child with her, who at once clings to Anne's dress, and she caresses him while going into another room. She returns with a beautiful copper amphora, which she hands to the woman, saying, "You are always so good to old Anne, indeed you are. May God reward you with this son and the other children you will have, you fortunate one." Anne sighs. The woman looks at her and does not know what to say in reply, considering the circumstances. To divert attention from the distressing situation of which she is aware, she remarks, "I would leave Alpheus here with you if you don't mind, so that I can be quicker. I'll fill many jars and jugs for you." Alpheus is very pleased to stay, and the reason is clear. As soon as his mother is gone, Anne picks him up and takes him into the orchard, lifts him up to a pergola of grapes as golden as topaz, and says to him, "Eat, eat, because they are good." As she leaves, an elderly man comes in from the orchard. He's a little smaller than Anne, and his thick hair is completely white. His skin is clear, his face open, with a squarely cut beard. His eyes are like blue turquoises, and his eyelashes are light brown, almost fair. His robe is dark brown. Anne does not see him because her back is turned to the door, and he approaches from behind, questioning, "And nothing for me?" Anne turns around and says, "Oh, Joachim, Have you finished your work?" At the same time, little Alpheus runs to the elderly man's knees, exclaiming, "Also to you! Also to you!" And while the man bends down to kiss him, the child clings to his neck, ruffling his beard with his little hands and his kisses. Joachim also has his gift. He brings his left hand from behind his back and offers the child such a beautiful apple that it seems to be made of the finest porcelain. Smiling, he says to the child who is holding his hands out eagerly, "Wait, I will cut it for you. You can't eat it like this. It's bigger than you." With a small pruning knife, which he carries on his belt, he cuts the fruit into small slices. He seems to be feeding a baby bird, such is the care with which he puts the morsels into the little wide-open mouth that munches and chews. Look at his eyes, Joachim. Don't they look like two little wavelets of the Sea of Galilee when the evening wind draws a veil of cloud over the sky? Anne is speaking, resting one hand on her husband's shoulder, and she's leaning slightly on him too, a gesture that reveals her deep love as his wife, a love still perfect after so many years of marriage. And Joachim looks at her lovingly and agrees, saying, "Most beautiful. And his curls, aren't they the color of crops dried in the sun? Look, in them is a mixture of copper and gold. Ah, if we had had a child, I would have liked him like this, with these eyes and this hair." Anne has bent down low. In fact, she is on her knees, and with a deep sigh, she kisses the two large gray-blue eyes. Joachim also sighs, but he wishes to comfort her. He puts his hand on her thick, curly gray hair and whispers to her, "We must continue to hope. God can do everything. While we are alive, our miracle can happen, especially because we love Him and we love each other." Joachim stresses the final phrase, but Anne is silent, dejected. She stands, her head bowed, to conceal two tears streaming down her face. Only little Alpheus sees them, and he's upset and grieved that his great friend is crying, as he himself sometimes does. He lifts his hands and wipes away the tears. Noticing this, Joachim comforts her, saying, "Don't cry, Anne. We are happy just the same. At least I am, because I have you." "I have you too, Joachim, but I have not given you a child. I think I must have angered the Lord, because He has made my womb barren." "Oh, my wife, how could you have angered Him, you, a holy woman? Listen, we'll go once more to the temple for this reason, not only for the tabernacles. We'll say a long prayer. Perhaps it will happen to us as it did to Sarah or to Anne of Elkanah. They too waited for a long time, and they considered themselves rejected and cursed because they were barren. But instead, a holy son was being prepared for them in the Lord's heaven. Smile, my wife. Your tears are a greater sorrow for me than being without children. Look, we can take Alpheus with us. We'll make him pray, since he is innocent, and God will hear his prayer and ours together, and God will grant them. Yes, dear husband, let us make a vow to the Lord. The offspring will be his, as long as he grants it. Oh, to hear myself being called Mama." And Alpheus, an astonished and innocent spectator, exclaims, "I call you Mama." "Yes, my darling, but you have your mummy, and I have no baby." The vision ceases here. I understand that the story of Mary's birth has begun, and I am very happy because I wanted it so much. And I think that you, dear friend, will be happy too. Before I began to write, I heard Mother Mary say to me, "And now, my dear daughter, write about me. and all of your grief will be comforted." And while saying so, she laid her hand upon my head, caressing me kindly. Then the vision began. But at first, that is, until I heard the 50-year-old woman called by her name, I did not realize that I was in the presence of Mother's mother, and consequently approaching the grace of her birth.